Somewhere in rural Montana right now, a Hutterite colony is harvesting more food from a single shared courtyard than most suburban families pull from a full quarter-acre lot. No extra land. No expensive equipment. No farm required. They are growing up. The Hutterites, Old Order Mennonites, Amish, these communities do not romanticize self-sufficiency. They depend on it. Generation after generation. They have fed large families, survived brutal winters, and outlasted every food crisis the modern world has thrown at them. Not because they had more ground, because they refused to waste the one dimension almost every modern gardener ignores completely. Vertical space. And what they mastered centuries ago, university agronomists have now confirmed. Vertical cultivation systems produce 20% more total vegetable biomass than flat beds of identical square footage. For vining crops, that number hits 30%. More food. Same pot. Same porch. Same balcony you already have. Today, 9 vegetables these communities have grown vertically in containers for generations, and the specific techniques that make each one double its harvest. Stay until number 4. The Mennonites called it the most productive plant per inch of vertical space in the entire kitchen garden. Every season you skip it, that yield is gone forever. Let's get into it. Vegetable number 9. Indeterminate tomatoes. This is where the Hutterites start every vertical garden. There is a reason they never stopped. Most people grow tomatoes sprawling across the ground and wonder why they get 20 fruits from a plant that should give them hundreds. The problem is not the tomato. It is the direction. Trained vertically on a single leader string, indeterminate tomatoes keep growing, flowering, and fruiting from spring until the first killing frost. University trials confirm what these communities already knew. A properly trained vertical tomato yields 10 to 15 pounds of fruit per plant, per season. Here is what your local garden center will never tell you. Bury the transplant deep, up to 2/3 of the lower stem. Every hair along that buried stem converts into a root. You are not planting a tomato. You are building an anchor system that feeds a 10-foot fruiting tower. Minimum 10-gallon container. 1 strong string from base to overhead fixture. Prune every lateral sucker from every leaf axil. 1 liter. 1 line. Maximum fruit. The old communities did not discover this by accident. They discovered it by feeding families who could not afford a failed harvest. Vegetable number 8. Vining cucumbers. The Mennonites have a saying that never made it into a single gardening book. A cucumber on the ground is a cucumber fighting for its life. They are right. Trellised vining cucumbers produce nearly double the marketable fruit of sprawling ground crops, 1.8 to 2.3 pounds per plant, while occupying only 12 to 18 inches of ground footprint instead of 3 to 4 feet. That is not a small improvement. That is a completely different plant. But here is what collapses most container cucumber attempts before they begin. Drought stress. When a cucumber goes dry, it triggers the accumulation of bitter compounds called cucurbitacins inside the fruit. The cucumber you harvest tastes like disappointment, and you blame yourself. You should be blaming the watering schedule. Pack your container mix with coconut coir for water retention. Keep volumetric moisture between 45 and 65%. Never let the soil pull away from the pot walls. One more rule the old communities kept without exception. Never bury the stem. Cucumbers transplanted too deep rot at the crown before they ever climb. Set them at the exact depth of their starter plug. No deeper. Vegetable number 7. Pole beans. Walk through any Hutterite colony garden in midsummer and you see the same thing running along every fence line, every post, every vertical surface available. Pole beans. Always pole beans. Never bush beans. That preference has held for generations. Here is why. Bush beans set their entire crop in a narrow 2-week window, then quit. Pole beans are indeterminate. They produce continuously across an extended season, generating up to 3 times the total yield of bush varieties in an identical footprint. 3 times. Same container. Same seeds. But the deeper secret is underground. Pole beans belong to the Fabaceae family. Their roots form a living partnership with rhizobium bacteria in the soil. These bacteria pull inert atmospheric nitrogen directly out of the air and convert it into nutrition the plant uses immediately. You are not just growing beans. You are running a biological nitrogen factory inside a 5-gallon pot. Use containers 10 to 12 inches deep. Support with bamboo teepees or narrow jute twine, never wide posts. Pole beans climb by twining their stems. If the support is too thick to grip, the vine collapses under its own weight. The Hutterites understood this long before soil science had a name for it. Quick question, how many times have you replanted the same tomatoes, the same basil, the same peppers? Every single spring? Same cart, same garden center, same cycle. What if you only had to plant it once? That's literally the idea behind Plant Once, my perennial starter checklist and zone guide. Find your zone in under 5 minutes. Know exactly what to plant first. And build a garden that comes back year after year, without you lifting a finger every spring. Plant it once. Harvest it for years. Links in the description, or scan the QR code on your screen to get your copy right now. Let's stop starting over. Vegetable number 6. Climbing peas. Stop. This is the one I mentioned at the beginning. Old Order Mennonite communities plant climbing peas before the ground is fully awake, while everyone else is still waiting for warmth. They have always known something modern container gardeners are only beginning to rediscover. Peas do not want heat. Heat is their enemy. When temperatures climb past 75 degrees Fahrenheit, pollination fails. The vine shuts down completely. Every day you delay planting in early spring is yield you will never get back. But here is the container advantage that changes everything. Pot moves. When late spring heat arrives earlier than expected, you roll it into afternoon shade and extend your harvest window by weeks. No in-ground planting gives you that. The Mennonites worked with fixed ground. You have something better. Use a rhizobium inoculant powder applied directly to the seed at planting, especially in fresh potting mix where beneficial bacteria are absent. This single step activates the same nitrogen-fixing partnership that makes pole beans so productive, dramatically increasing vine strength and pod yield. Install your support at planting. Pea tendrils cannot grip thick posts. Use lightweight netting, chicken wire, or slender hazel sticks. Miss the window and you wait another full year. Vegetable number 5. Vining squash. Here is the crop that breaks every assumption people carry into container gardening. Squash, sprawling, ground-hungry, space-consuming squash, trained vertically in a pot. The Amish have been doing this for generations, and the data backs them completely. Vertical squash cultivation reduces soil-borne fungal infections by 40 to 60%. Fruit rot drops by over 75% compared to ground cultures. The reason is simple. Air moves through an elevated canopy the way it never can through a vine collapsed on wet soil. Moisture evaporates from leaf surfaces before fungal spores find purchase. The plant that killed itself on the ground becomes indestructible in the air. Choose smaller fruiting cultivars. Varieties producing fruit under 4 pounds. Honey Bear or Tromboncino are what the old communities reached for first. As fruit begins to swell, cradle each one individually in slings cut from old cotton fabric or mesh netting. This relieves the tension on the vine-stem junction that causes fruit drop and stem breakage. Your support structure must be heavy-duty. A maturing squash canopy acts like a sail in wind, transferring enormous force onto a container never designed to hold it. Anchored to a wall, railing, or fixed post. No freestanding structure survives a summer storm with a full squash canopy loaded against it. Vegetable number 4. Malabar spinach. Traditional spinach quits the moment summer heat arrives. Bolting, turning bitter, abandoning your salad bowl entirely. The Hutterite communities that settled in the warmest agricultural zones never stopped harvesting leafy greens through July and August. Their secret was not a technique. It was a different plant. Malabar spinach is not a true spinach, but its thick, dark green, heart-shaped leaves carry a remarkably similar flavor, and it does something true spinach physiologically cannot. It thrives in scorching heat. It begs for humidity. It charges up a trellis under full summer sun and refuses to slow down until frost ends the season. Under ideal conditions, a single vine reaches 10 feet. Research documents yields of 40 kilograms of fresh leaves from just 10 square meters in a single season. Here is the harvest rule that doubles your production. Never let this plant rest. Every time you pinch a leaf or a growing tip, the vine branches explosively, producing more growth nodes, more leaves, more harvest points. The more you take, the more it gives back. 5-gallon container, lightweight obelisk or bamboo frame. In warm climates, save seeds in autumn. Your cost drops to zero for every season that follows. Vegetable number 3. Small melons. Most people never attempt melons in a container. The assumption is that melons need sprawling ground, full acreage, space no porch or balcony can offer. The Mennonite market gardeners who supplied entire township communities from compact growing plots never shared that assumption. They grew what fed people. And compact cultivars, Minnesota midget, yellow doll, mini sugar baby, fed people from surprisingly small footprints. Here is what vertical growing does to a melon that no ground culture can replicate. Trellised fruit develops uniform sun exposure on all sides simultaneously. Sugar distribution inside the flesh becomes even. The result is a sweeter, more consistent fruit than anything produced by a vine sprawling across damp soil, where one side sits in shadow for its entire development. Minimum 10 to 15-gallon container. Reinforced wire panel or arched cattle panel, 5 to 7 feet tall. And here is the non-negotiable rule. Once each melon reaches the size of a tennis ball, sling it immediately with fabric tied to the trellis. A melon that outgrows its sling pulls the entire vine off the structure overnight. The old communities learned that lesson once. You do not have to. Vegetable number 2. Bottle gourd. The Amish communities with the most productive kitchen gardens shared one habit outside observers consistently failed to notice. They harvested constantly, not occasionally, not when convenient, constantly. Nowhere is that discipline more directly rewarded than with bottle gourd. Here is the biological reality most gardeners never learn. Frequent harvesting directly stimulates the production of new female flowers on the vine. Every gourd you pick triggers the plant to replace it. Stop harvesting and the vine reads the signal as reproductive completion, and slows down. Keep harvesting and the plant keeps producing. The compact cultivar green pear is specifically bred for container systems. Once established in warm weather, vines reach 10 to 12 feet fast. Your structure must be overhead. A sturdy patio arbor, pergola, or tall cattle panel arch, allowing the pear-shaped fruits to hang cleanly downward. Minimum 10-gallon container. One timing rule determines everything. Harvest when fruits measure 8 to 10 inches. Beyond that, the flesh turns fibrous and woody. The window between perfect and useless is narrow. Apply balanced liquid organic fertilizer every 14 days through the season. The Amish did not call it a feeding schedule. They called it keeping a promise to the plant. Vegetable number 1. Bitter melon. The Hutterite, Mennonite, and Amish communities that mastered small-space food production shared one trait that separated them from every casual gardener who ever tried and quit. They understood that a plant left to its own instincts is a plant optimizing for survival, not for your harvest. Bitter melon taught them that lesson better than almost anything else they grew. Here is the mechanism most growers never discover. Once the primary vine climbs to the top of its support, typically 5 to 6 feet, pinch out the terminal growing tip completely. This removes apical dominance. The plant, no longer racing upward, redirects every unit of energy into lateral branching instead. Those lateral vines produce a dramatically higher ratio of female flowers to male flowers. More female flowers, more fruit. Research confirms this single pruning technique doubles bitter melon production from one vine. In urban balcony environments where pollinators are scarce, hand pollinate in the early morning with a small paintbrush. Transfer pollen from male flowers, identifiable by their plain stems, to female flowers, identifiable by the tiny swollen node at their base. 12 inches deep and wide. Sturdy wire trellis or tall fence. Minimum 5-gallon volume. The old communities did not call this technique. They called it paying attention. And that thread runs through every plant on this list. Vertical space, disciplined harvesting, intentional pruning, the right container, the right support. None of it is complicated. All of it requires the one thing the modern food system was specifically designed to make you forget you are capable of. Tension, consistency, the willingness to grow something yourself. The Hutterites, Mennonites, and Amish did not build generational food security because they had more land. They built it because they refused to waste a single vertical inch of what they had. You have a pot. You have a wall. You have everything they started with. Start there.